This is a podcast about one woman's mission to help entrepreneurs and business owners write better business books. Each week, we tackle your writing excuses, because there are excuses too, and help you beat the blank page of doom so that you can write the book that'll grow your life and your business. Now here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello, and welcome to the 1000 Authors Show. I'm Vicky Quinn, and this is my husband, Joe.
Hello.
Hello. We have snow, and it's very exciting.
Well, it's rained a bit, so now we've got kind of frozen slush. Not as nice.
So you're just looking at your face again. You told me to put it over there, and now you're looking at your face in the wrong place, so I'm going to bring it back.
I'm just boggled by my hair. I've been wearing a woolly hat for a few hours because I've been plastering, and it's very cold everywhere. And I now have taken my hat off, and my hair is a bit ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Don't apologise. Cheers. So we're drinking today. We are drinking out of a teapot. Actually, no, out of mugs, which we poured from a teapot. We are drinking Zig a Zig Ah tea by Bird and Blend Tea, and it is lemon and ginger, and it's very zingy.
Hello, Bird and Blend Tea.
Hi. Would you like to sponsor our podcast with free tea? It's very tasty, isn't it?
So it's a new subscription service that you have signed up for, because
I love a subscription
Lord
service.
knows Vicky loves a subscription.
I do love a subscription. And yeah, it's been... Sorry, I'm distracted by the wavy lines going on the other. We're using new recording software, and it's very exciting.
Distracting is what it is.
Yeah. Anyway, so this week we're talking about how to choose a book coach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, oh, you sound surprised. I did tell you.
Well,
What?
it's kind of handy, isn't it?
Yes, because I am a
Being
book
as
coach.
you are a book coach.
No, but I do want people to know how to do this, because I can't coach everybody in the world.
That's true.
And there are many other really great book coaches out there.
Okay.
So yeah. But first, what are we reading? Joe, what are you reading?
I'm reading The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss.
Wait, what?
No, we'd stopped.
You're not reading...
We'd stopped the Wheel of Time last week. We'd stopped the Wheel of Time.
Oh, yes, because... Oh, yeah.
We made a big deal of it last week.
We did. I'm making another big deal of it now.
Another big deal. I'm still not reading The Wheel of Time.
So I read The Wise Man's Fear a few weeks ago, and now Joe's reading it. What do you think so far?
It's very good.
It's great, isn't it?
It is the second book after The Name of the Wind.
Yeah, by Patrick Rothfuss.
It's very good. Very good.
It is. I enjoyed it so much that I grieved a little bit at the end of it. It's that kind of book.
Book 3 hasn't been published yet, so we're both going to be annoyed about that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be annoyed about it in a couple of days.
Yeah. And I am reading fiction Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, which won the Booker Prize in 2019, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm already having pre-grief for the end of the book. Don't want it to end. So I've already built a wish list of all of her other books that I'm just going to read. It is awesome. It's really interesting. It's interesting the way she's written it, because the actual writing itself, there are no capital letters except for proper names. And when I opened the book and looked at it, I was like, oh, this is going to bother me. And it took me about 30 seconds to just not give a shit anymore, because it's such a good book. And actually, the way she writes like that, because there's not really any punctuation either, except for right at the end of a chapter.
Really?
No, there are commas and things. Just, well, I thought it would bother me, but actually, because of that, there is punctuation.
I'm having flashbacks to Ulysses.
No, nothing like Ulysses, don't worry. But the reason that I love it is because it makes it feel a little bit like verse, like reading poetry, not in an awkward kind of stilted way, but in a really flowing way. And so I think the way that she's written it, it really draws me into the character's story and the way they're talking. It's almost like they're talking to you, which they are through a book. It'll be interesting to see what you think of it. It's really easy to read, because I was like, oh, I'm not sure this is going to work for me, because I get a bit pissy when authors mess around with that kind of thing, unless it's poetry. But I love it. And the other thing I love about it is that each chapter focuses on a different woman or a different set of women, and all of their stories kind of weave together. They've all got connections to each other, and it's hilarious in places, it's tragic in places, it's rage-inducing in places, and it's just great. I just love it.
Okay.
So I'm going to pass it on to you afterwards.
I'll give it a go.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. And non-fiction, just finishing off Out on the Wire by Jessica Abel, which I'm also loving, all about storytelling. And I'm about to start reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. If you're not on his email list, by the way, join his email list, because his weekly emails are super. They're some of the few that I actually read, every single one of them. So But yeah, so this week at Casa Dingle, what have we been up to? We've been walking in the snow.
We have walked in the snow. We have not built a snowman. We missed that boat a little bit.
We haven't sledged either, but last time I sledged, I smashed my leg.
You were a very effective crumple zone. We were 2 up on a sledge, and
Joe put me in front and basically ran me into a hedge.
well, if somebody had to hit the hedge,
And
I was at the back, so sorry.
And it was the little one. The little one hit the hedge.
Yeah,
Do you remember the bruise on my shin?
it was a
We
good
thought
one.
we thought I'd broken my leg.
You did make quite a meal of it.
It was incredibly painful. Anyway, so yeah, snow and ice. I've got an amusing video of Joe sliding around on an icy puddle. And it's Right Night tonight, the day that we're recording this. So by the time you listen to this, Right Night will have been and gone. So I have been a little bit hyperactive all day. I'm really looking forward to
Looking
it.
forward to a late night.
Yeah. It's going to be good. So yeah, but this week we are talking about how to choose a book coach.
Okay.
So yeah.
How do we do that?
Okay, so first let's start with why. Why would one want a book coach, Joe?
I would imagine many people start out without a book coach
Yes.
and fairly quickly realise that they need a little bit of accountability, some driving, possibly, some treatment with a whip and a chair, and generally motivating and organising to get on with it.
Yeah, a bunch of that stuff. Essentially, like to boil it all down, one would choose a book coach to prevent the tragedy of sad manuscripts dying half finished in a drawer or on a hard drive. Because that's what happens. It's like the next hardest thing after getting started is finishing the damn thing.
Sure.
So also to provide clarity and direction to help your book take shape and focus and prevent it from bloating and becoming a repository for every thought in your head, which can happen. Accountability, like you said, investment. It's an investment that will keep you on track.
Sure.
Because if you are investing in a book coach, good ones are not cheap, and nor should they be, because a lot of work goes into coaching. And if you're making that kind of investment of not just of money, but also of time and effort, then you're going to want to get your book to the finish line for sure.
Yes, you're going to want to get the damn thing done, and hopefully stop paying the coach.
Yes. I just had actually today, this very bittersweet moment, my final official coaching call with one of my clients whose book is just about there. We're gonna catch up in a couple of weeks, but
Nice.
but I was just like, it was like yay, and then both of us were like, man, this is really sad because we've really enjoyed working together, and and we'll come back to that. It's like quite a long process often, and so that's 6 months I've been working with him, and I'm really gonna miss our calls because they were fun, and it's a really fun process. So anyway. It's also a scary process, as anyone who has written a book will tell you. So a
And
coach...
doing it alone.
Yeah. I wrote my first book on my own, and I wish I hadn't. It would have been nice to have. And now I can coach myself, but I still, work with other writers as well who can help me keep on track. But yeah, it's a scary process. So a good coach will hold your hand the whole way. They will provide guidance and oversight, editorial help, depending on what sort of coach you've got. Hopefully they'll make it fun, at least in places. Steady progress from the blank page to at least your decent draft. And they will be there as well to talk you down off the ledges when you're like, I hate everything, this doesn't work, and I'm a shit writer.
Yes.
And
as well, they're going to have a network of people they know. Designers and publishers and printers and all sorts of people who might be valuable to know on your journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, because that's another thing that people find daunting is like often they don't kind of think about the fact that, okay, writing the thing is just almost small part of it. You've got all of this other stuff to do as well. And it's like, how do I find a designer and a printer and a typesetter and all that stuff? And
A marketer and somebody to do the...
And a book coach can help you find all of those people and recommend people so that you know that they're going to be, to a certain standard as well.
Sure.
Which is really cool. So that is a few reasons why you might want to think about a book coach. So how to choose one? There are so many. I would suggest start with your genre, just because, a romantic fiction coach may not be the right choice for a non-fiction self-help book. I'm not saying they definitely won't be, because some coaches coach all types of writers and book authors. But, I would say it's probably a good place to start.
Sure.
Have they coached people to produce books in a similar vein that yours is going to be? is a good place to start. So, for example, if you were writing fiction, I would not be the book coach that you would want to work with.
Sure.
I would point you in the direction of somebody who can help you, because it's not my field of expertise, and it's not something that I would necessarily enjoy doing either. So that's really important. Second consideration is to think about the type of book that you want to write. And I can give a little example of something to think about. I spoke to a prospective client a couple of weeks ago, and he had been talking to other book coaches as well, which is, cool. Go look at different people, see who's going to fit. But he talked to a few people who wanted to fit him into a box. So he had some ideas of what he wanted to do and how he wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. And the people that he talked to are like, oh, well, this is how I work, and this is the type of book that you will write. And, if that happens to coincide with the type of book that you're writing, then that's fine. But I would much prefer you look for a book coach who is flexible and who is able to coach you through the process regardless of what type of book. Like I say, genre is important often.
Yeah.
So fiction, non-fiction tend to be different people. But as far as, just creating a formulaic, this is the type of book that I produce, I don't want my clients to all produce the same type of book with a different title slapped on the front,
Yeah, book in a box kind of.
Yeah.
We'll bang this out in 6 weeks and it'll have 110 pages.
Yeah. And it's like, you know what? I'm trying not to bash those people. You do you, boo. But that's certainly not what I do. So look around at the different type of coaches and think about what type of person. Yeah, what
It's important to get a fit with the character of the person as well, isn't it? I mean, if they irritate you from the first word out of their mouth, then that's probably not the coach for you.
No,
because you're going to have some, I don't know, emotional conversations. You're going to have some
Absolutely.
conversations that could be quite upsetting. You put a lot of work in, and if you need telling something, then the coach's job is to tell you.
Yeah, that's another thing, actually. If you're looking for a book coach, you have to realise that they are going to give you feedback, and they're going to critique your work. And that can be really painful to hear. It can also be really painful to deliver from the coach's point of view as well, because we are very aware of how hard you've worked on your story. And so, the good ones are really good at delivering it in such a way that it is how to make it better rather than this is what you've done wrong. But it's still painful to hear. Like I find it really painful to have feedback in the first, half hour or so. And after that, I'll kind of, I'll be like, okay, well, let's have a think about that. And then it's like, oh, actually, this is really, so you have to kind of give yourself space, but you've got to realize that a good coach is not just going to pat you on the head and say, this is brilliant, or they shouldn't. They should not do that. That is not the job of a coach. I do not, my job as a book coach is to make sure that you write the very best book that you possibly can. And sometimes that's going to involve hearing some difficult stuff. So you've got to bear that in mind as well. Think about the type of person and how they might deliver that news, because even if it's useful information, they've got to deliver it in such a way that you can hear it. And not everybody is good at that.
And not just cancel the contract and run away.
Yes.
Screw you, I'm off.
So, sorry, I should have just let you carry on instead of choking on my tea. Look at what they're promising. Look at what the book coach is promising. Does it seem too good to be true? Because it might be. If they're promising work with me and you'll have your book in your hand in a month, I would be wary of that. Maybe if you're writing a mini book that's 50 pages long, Maybe that's possible. If you're talking about writing kind of a full-length, 200-page book and you're writing it from scratch, unless you can spend every waking minute on this and it's a proper intensive, I would be really wary of that kind of promise. So if it seems too good to be true, it might be too good to be true. It might not, go talk to people, or it might be that they can't help you write the right book for you. So if you're thinking that you want to write a big and meatier book and they're promising that you can get it done in like 3 weeks or whatever, then they might be thinking of something entirely different from what you are.
They've got the wrong end of the stick.
Yeah.
They've got the end of a different stick.
Yes, the pointy end of an entirely different stick. Maybe even a bamboo cane or a twig or a snooker cube.
But not the stick you want.
Not the stick you want. Not the pencil that you're holding.
Stop dragging this analogy.
Okay. Okay, so Next thing to look at, are they being honest about the work involved? Because I've seen some adverts and things out there promising that, you can write your book really easily, it's super easy. It's not going to be easy. Writing your book, even with a book coach, is not going to be easy. I'm going to say that right now. It's not going to be impossible and it's not going to be horrible, but it's It's not going to be easy. I've never met anybody who said writing a book is easy.
Sure.
Who's being honest about it. So yeah, are they being honest about the work involved? Because yes, it's going to be a big investment in cash, but it's also going to be a big investment in time and effort on your part. And you've got to think about how long you want this to take. And that means how much work are you willing to put in? So one of the things I always do when I talk to people is, they say to me, how long is this going to take? And my answer is, I don't know. I don't know how long this is going to take. It very much depends on how much time you can put into it. And what you're prepared to do. And also, I can give you a ballpark. If you do all of the things that I tell you to do when I tell you to do them, then you can have at least a decent first draft in your hand by the end of 4 or 5 months.
Right.
At least. Maybe it'll be quicker than that. Some people do it much quicker than that. I've worked with, one of my clients recently, got it done in 3 months. And then the rest of the time we've spent kind of editing and all the rest of it. So
it really depends on how much other stuff is going on in your life and how much time you can devote to this. If you can sit down and write for 8 hours a day for, 5 days a week, then, congratulations. Well done. You do better than most of us.
I can't sit down and write for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I'm a writer.
But if legitimately that's what you can do, then brilliant. You're going to get through this pretty quickly. If you've got 5 minutes on a Thursday afternoon, then it's going to take a long time to write a book.
Yeah, it is. So it's really, the person that you're talking to has got to be honest about the work involved on your part, because this is not ghostwriting. That's an entirely different thing. There's a lot of work for you to do. It's not an easy fix. It's a steady guiding hand and, lots of feedback and all the rest of it. So think about that. When you do find somebody who appeals to you, find out as much about them as you possibly can. So have they written a book, for example? Buy it and read it. Have they got a podcast? Listen to a few episodes. Have they been interviewed by other people's podcasts or in the media? Go and listen and read them.
If you know who they've coached, go and read the people they've coached books.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's exactly what I tell people to do. I've got all of those books behind us there. They are people that have either taken my courses or who I've coached to write their books, and I will absolutely point prospective clients in their direction. So yeah, read their clients' books as well. Talk to their clients even better.
Yeah.
And a good book coach will very happily put you in touch with their clients. If they have social media, stalk them on social media, follow them, find out what they're writing, what they're putting out there.
Yeah.
What kind of person they are. If they've got an email list, join it. It won't take you long if you spend a few days stalking them to decide whether or not you like them. And at that point, you can kind of decide whether or not you want to get to know them a bit more. So listen to what they have to say about writing, about writers, about creativity, about book publishing, about reading. All of those things are really important. Listen to what they have to say. See if it's the kind of thing that you resonate with. Do they have testimonials? Hopefully.
You would hope.
Can you contact the people that they've worked with before? If you can, do so. Talk to them. Find out as much as you can. And then once you've done all that groundwork, get in touch with the coach and ask about working with them. If you can book a call with them, do so. And if you're wondering how this works, I was going to say be wary of people who don't allow you to have a chat before they start working together. But you know what? Everybody's got their own working system. I can tell you what I do. So I will have a free call with people before we start working together. But before I will get onto the phone with people, I ask them to do a little bit of work before we hop on a call, so that it's not a waste of either of our times. Mm-hmm. So things that I ask people to do on a form on my website, I get people to tell me why they're writing their book. This is really important for me to tell if we're going to be a good match.
What do you mean by a good match?
I feel like that would have been so much smoother.
If you just hadn't done that.
If I just hadn't done that. There's a prompt in my notes that says, Joe, ask what I mean here.
Normally she just kicks me under the table.
Oh my God.
What? So what? Come on. What do you mean by a good match?
Okay. So if somebody wants their book to be just a glorified business card and they're like, I just want to be able to hand it out at events and I just
want 200 pages of stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Then that, I don't think people would actually say that. But yeah, if it's like, I just want this to be something that I can put on the table at events, then we're probably not going to be a good fit. Right. You and I, because that's not the type of book that I'm interested in helping people write. And this has to be interesting for me as well, because this is like a 6-month relationship. Mm-hmm. I need to be interested. So if it's that kind of thing, if they are writing an autobiography, I'm probably going to point them in the direction of somebody who would be better placed to do that. I'm really like, all books have autobiographical elements, but if they're writing a straight autobiography, that's probably not something. I've done it before, and it's not something that I would go out of my way to do again. It would very much depend on the type of book.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like, what do you want out of your book? If you just want it as a glorified sales letter, I'm not your coach. So that's why I'm really interested in what people want to get out of the book, why they're writing it. What are your goals and objectives? So that's a really good question. I would like to know what you are hoping to get from the book and what you're hoping the book will do. And that can include, being a really amazing sales tool. That can be part of it. But if that's the main reason, I'm not interested. So those are all good. Those are all questions I ask. I also ask, what made you seek out a book coach? I want to know basically, what you were struggling with before. I ask, what do you enjoy most about book writing and writing in general? I also ask what people find most frustrating. I ask them what they've already done or tried to do to fix those frustrations, so that I know whether or not I can help them. Because if it's something that I don't do, or an area that I don't work in, then that can tell me really quickly, okay, you know what, we're not going to be a good fit, but I know somebody who is. So that's really important. And I also ask, what would be the most useful support that you could get? Because people don't always know what will help them, but sometimes they know exactly what will help them. And so that can be quite a useful question to ask as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And finally, this is really important. When you talk to your potential coach, are they as excited about your idea as you are? Because if they're not, you might want to walk away. That's really important. If I am not super excited by somebody's idea, I will tell them and be like, you know what, this isn't a good fit for me, but I know somebody who will really be able to help you. Most of the time, I get super excited about people's book ideas, just because I get really excited about people writing books and the ideas that they have. But yeah, that's really important. If they're not excited about your idea, they're not going to be able to help you bring out everything that you could bring out.
Yeah.
And put it in your book.
Bit of enthusiasm.
Yeah. And just a couple of final things. Are they going to try and fit you in a box, like that potential client that I talked to the other day and the other book coaches? Are they going to try and force you into a route that you don't want to go down? Do they ask insightful questions? Do they make you feel as though you'll be in safe hands? That's really, really important.
Yeah, do you trust them? Because if they're going to tell you something, you put 20 hours into a chapter in a book and they start telling you some truths about it and helping you improve it, you need to trust them. You need to believe them.
Yeah.
If they're basically incredible, then that's not going to work, is it?
What do you mean by incredible? Uncredible.
Not credible.
Oh, not credible. Okay. I see what you mean. Okay. Yes. And like you mentioned earlier, depending on what kind of a book you write, and even actually it doesn't matter what kind of a book you write, there are going to be conversations that are quite emotional, because it's quite an emotional process. And you will learn a lot about yourself. It sounds cliche, but it's true. You'll learn a lot about yourself. It'll bring stuff up that you didn't even realize was there. And so you need to work with somebody who you're really comfortable telling stuff that you might not have told anybody else. And it might not necessarily go in the book, but my clients have told me stuff that they've never told anyone else before. And so they need to be able to trust that I'm never going to mention that to anyone if they don't want me to, which I would never do. And so, but I can say that, but you need to be able to talk to someone and get that feeling from them. Can I trust you? And that's really, really, really important. So I hope that has been useful.
I think it's useful.
Cool.
It's good.
Thanks, Joe. What's the takeaway?
Do your research, find out as much as you can about the potential coach. Find several coaches, talk to them all, stalk them all, find out everything you can.
I don't know about find several coaches, but when you find someone you like the look of, put time into finding out as much as you can about them. And get recommendations as well. If you know somebody who's worked with a book coach, get recommendations. That's really important. So if you've read somebody's book and you really like them, get in touch with them. Like, even if they're famous people, get in touch and be like, could I ask you a few questions about this? Because most people will be happy to talk to you. It might take a while to get back to you, but most people will be happy to talk to you about it. And if they've used a coach who was amazing, then they'll tell you. They'll tell you who it was. So that's a really good idea as well. I'm just grabbing a book because to do the author shout out of the week.
Author shout out of the week
is Julian Northbrook, who is a member of my team Moxie.
Hi, Julia.
Hi, Julian. And he has written Master English Fast, an uncommon guide to speaking extraordinary English. And he was an English teacher in Japan for many years. Now he is a digital nomad. He's currently in Denmark, I think, on his way back to Ireland, I believe. But he had these books are lovely. He had them printed in Japan when he was there, so they're slightly different from what you might get in the UK, and it's beautiful. I like it. It's a lovely thing.
Nice.
Yeah, and he signed it. To Vicky, thanks for all your help, Julian. So yeah, that's Julian's book, Master English Fast. Not just for people who are speaking English as a second language, but also a really bloody good book. It's a really good book if you're interested in language at all. And me thinking about doing a master's degree in linguistics, definitely going to be reading this again. So yeah. Cool. Next week we're going to talk about my coaching process, so that you know what you might expect from a book coach if you work with one.
Okay.
There are many different coaching processes, obviously, but I'll run through mine, and we'll have a chat about that.
Cool.
You could pretend that you're a potential client, and ask me questions, and then we'll write you a book.
Ugh.
Joe, that's not a great advert for me. Anyway, I have a new audiobook out. It's called That's What She Said, and it's available on Audible now, and it's getting really, really great reviews, and I'm getting lovely emails from people and messages, and they're making me cry, aren't they, Joe?
Yes, quite frequently.
Yeah. So apparently it's quite good. I don't know, obviously I'm focusing on the 1-2 star review that it got, but, all of the others have been really good. So if you've already listened to That's What She Said and you enjoyed it, please leave me a nice review on Audible. And speaking of reviews, if you really enjoy this podcast, please go to iTunes and leave us a review and a rating.
5 stars.
And share it. If you know somebody who will enjoy this podcast, send them to moxiebooks.co.uk/podcast.
Probably.
Speaking of oh my god. Words. Speaking of words spoken over the airwaves, if you go to BBC Hereford and Worcester, and I will try and put the link in the show notes, actually, I was interviewed for BBC Hereford and Worcester a few days ago, and it is going live today, which was last week while you're now listening to this. Oh my god, time travel. Anyway, it's live. I'll put the link up. You can go listen.
Cool.
I really enjoyed it. And I think that's probably enough. That's probably enough of that.
That's enough.
Thank you very much for listening, as always, dear listener. Joe, thank you for being my beautiful assistant.
Thank you very much. No worries.
And we'll be back sometime next week.
See ya.
Bye!
Thanks for listening. You can find links and show notes on the website at moxiebooks.co.uk/podcast, where you can also sign up for the best daily emails in the multiverse and find loads of free resources to help you write your book. We'll be back the same time next week with more tales from the book writing trenches and the latest on what the tiny sheeps have been up to.